it's Lyndon, and today we're going to think about how to get a good tone on your saxophone. And to start off, let's figure out how not to get a good tone on a saxophone. So if I play a note on the sax and I'm allowing my lip to move a lot and my breath to be inconsistent, in other words, not a nice, straight, long, even breath, but a breath that's like this, I'm going to get this sound. And I'm playing a G, more or less, on an alto saxophone. So the way I'm able to do that is my lips moving around haphazardly and my breath flow is uneven. So that's how not to get a good tone on the saxophone. The first thing that I want you to think about in getting a good tone on the sax is to be mindful and think, right, I'm going to work on my tone, just the tone, not moving around too many notes, just getting a nice sound out of the sax. In other words, decide what it is and have a clear goal. Decide what it is that you want to work on. Have a clear goal. Be mindful. Second thing that I would point out to you is that the saxophone, the way that I suspect that sound works is the sound is going away from you. So you as the player, it's very difficult to hear what you really sound like. And this is why if you go to a gig, you might see sax players warming up standing in the corner. It's not because they've been naughty, although they probably have, but it's not because they've been bad. What they're doing is they're standing in the corner or against a wall in order to reflect the sound so that they can hear what they actually sound like. Because otherwise the sound just escapes you. So that's really worth bearing in mind. So as strange as it may seem, it might benefit you to stand in front of a wall or a window when you practice your sound so that you get a better idea of what you really sound like. Another thing to bear in mind is to record on decent equipment. If you're going to record yourself and you record on a smartphone, it's going to sound awful. No matter how good you are, it's just going to sound really bad. And that's because the tiny little microphone on a telephone cannot compete with something sophisticated and expensive. This whole piece of kit here, this beautiful mic, this condenser mic, is really good at picking up saxophone sound, and your phone is terrible. So if you're recording yourself on the phone, it's going to sound bad. So what we talked about on how to get a poor sound is that your lip is moving. One of the things is that your lip is moving around a lot. So that is another thing. Get your lip nice and firm, not too tight, but firm. There's a distinction between firmness and tightness. Tightness is just when you're squeezing the living daylights out of something, but firmness is when you're just holding it securely and you can adjust that tension. So you're going to get a nice firm lip. So if I blow a G with a nice stable lip and an even breath, and I'm listening to that sound, and you can hear there is some movement in there, and I'm trying to reduce that movement as much as I possibly can. If your G sounds like this, that's far too much movement. You want to be able to hit that note and keep it an even pace. So that's definitely something is worth practicing. Your breath, in the example that I gave in how not to play a good note on the saxophone, my breath was really inconsistent. So again, you just want to have a nice even breath like this. So again, concentrate on keeping your breath even. Other things that can affect tone are the way that your mouthpiece and ligature and reed have been set up. Make sure that they're set up correctly, because if they're not, you won't get a good tone. Make sure that your saxophone has been checked and adjusted fairly recently, because if you're trying to get lower notes and they don't sound right, it might not be you. It might be the fact that the saxophone is not in good condition. Another thing that you can do is what I would call a dynamics exercise, and this is where you start off with a very tiny note and build it up into a big note and bring it down again, and I'm talking about volume and intensity. So it'd sound like this on a G. That is a really, really, really powerful exercise, and if you spend 10-15 minutes doing that over a period of a few days, if you do it for a few seconds and stop and do it for a few seconds again and just keep going and keep that as a regular part of your practice, what you'll notice is that after a few days your tone will definitely improve, absolutely will. The classic, if you go to any saxophone forum, long tones is the standard answer for improving the sound that you make. But when they're talking about long tones, they're talking about hitting a long tone and maintaining it. So that is another really, really, really good thing to do, is just make the longest tone that you possibly can while holding it nice and straight and listening to the sound and adjusting it to get the very best sound out of your saxophone. So other things that you can think about is your mouthpiece. If you've got a super basic mouthpiece, you can get a nice sound out of it, but it will be harder than if you've got a professional quality mouthpiece. If you're interested in mouthpieces, I've made a video, have a look, about mouthpieces and the mouthpiece that I recommend for alto saxophone. Another one is to get your lip out. Get your lip out. So when we first start playing the saxophone, you might find that your lip is curled all the way in, and what I'm suggesting to you is to get your lip out a little bit more, so you're providing the reed with a big soft cushion to float on. So if I play a note with my lip in, now if I play a note with my lip out, so you can hear there was a very big difference. Well, I hope it comes out on the recording. But yeah, there is a difference between those two sounds. One sounds a little bit thinner and a little bit less full, and the other one sounds quite like a full sound. So another thing that you can do is add vibrato, but I think that kind of is quite a complex skill to develop on its own, and I'm going to make another video about how to use vibrato and how to develop your vibrato playing skills. So those are the ways that you can, one more thing that you can do is the overtone series. This is another exercise. Hold on to low C. This is overtone series, or the harmonic series, sometimes it's called. If you hold on to low C and blow it. Now, without using the octave key and only using your lip, you can get middle C as well. So I'm not holding the octave key, look. And hold that note for as long as you can. And then again, without moving my fingers at all, I'll get the G above that. Note is like G with the octave key on. And that note that I got was C with the octave key on. And I was doing all of that from holding the fingers in the same position as low C. That's the overtone series or the harmonic series. I'm not going to go into why that happens on the saxophone, because you need Dr. Brian Cox to explain that to you. If you're out there, Dr. Cox. There is a really good reason, and it's to do with physics, and that's not my subject, and it would take me too long to explain. But trust me, that is a really, really good exercise. If you can get between those sounds so that you get like a crazy crackling sound, that's quite good as well. I'll attempt to do it. So you can hear that there's almost like two notes being played there, and you should hold on to that sound. So I hope that's useful to you. There's some exercises that you can do with tone. You absolutely can get a beautiful sound out of your saxophone, but you really do need to work on these elements, these exercises that I've said, if you're going to get a great sound, because it's really easy not to make a good sound on a saxophone, but it's quite tricky to get a beautiful sound consistently. I hope that was useful to you. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. So that doesn't really sound very nice. It really doesn't. It sounds like a bee that's been trapped in a bucket. So, so there's a couple of things that we can think about there. Let's do that again. Slightly put off by the dripping roof.